Right, let's see what's up for sale these days. First one I've got here is PM Harold's pipe on sale. Harold Wilson's pipe and a bottle of his favourite HP sauce are being sold. The late Labour PM's passport, leather armchair, ashtray and scout badges also go under the hammer. Another prize item is a watercolour painting by Prince Charles given to Lady Wilson, whose death at the age of 102 last June triggered the sale. Charles Hanson, who will oversee the auction in Stafford on May the 10th, said, "It is an incredible collection."
And Churchill hat and letters worth 10k. Sir Winston Churchill's top hat is part of a collection of items found at a dump which have been valued at £10,000. The hat, a cigar case and 200 letters were due to appear on the Antiques Roadshow. They were taken to the BB show by David Rose, who discovered them at the tip where he works. The letters were written by the wartime Prime Minister's cook to her son and detail the daily goings-on of Mr. Churchill. Mr. Rose, who took the collections to Eltham Palace in Greenwich for the show, said she used to write about how he was feeling and just interesting stuff about him. Expert Mark Smith valued the collection at £10,000, which Mr. Rose described as crazy.
A 330-year-old book of cures sells for £9,000. A 330-year-old book of medicinal recipes, such as a snail potion, infused horse dung, and plague water, has sold for £9,000. It contains treatments for rabies, consumption, tuberculosis, and scurvy. A recipe for TB describes grinding garden snails in a pot with herbs and fennel and boiling them in milk. The horse dung recipe is incomplete and does not say what its use is. Plague water, made of herbs and plenty of brandy, was common in the 17th century, and Samuel Pepys references it in 1665. The 134-page book was begun in 1688 by a woman thought to be a cook and added to for 100 years. Max Hasler of Forum Auctions, southwest London, said, "It gives a good snapshot of life, what was thought about illness." The first Oz piano in tune-up. The first piano ever played in Australia has returned to Britain after 232 years, so it can be restored. The square-style instrument, shipped from Portsmouth to Botany Bay in 1787, will be worked on for 10 months before going back to Perth's Edith Cowan University. Specialist Lucy Code, 57, of Chippenham, Wiltshire, said, "I'll be deconstructing and gluing it together like a 3D jigsaw."
Wow.
And here's something that's not to everybody's taste. Marmite with a nutty twist. A spread combining Marmite and peanut butter is being launched. The yeasty and crunchy savoury paste was created in response to overwhelming demand from customers, Marmite said. A spokesman explained, "For years, Marmite fanatics have been concocting yeasty peanut butter combinations. We're delighted to bring the nation exactly what they've been craving." Have we? The 225 jars have been on sale for £2.50 from April the 7th.
And a burglar's beehive blunder. A burglar who tried to break into a storage unit at night landed directly on a hive of 20,000 bees. The criminal leapt over an 8-foot fence to have an opportunist look, only to fall on a honey business. Owner Dale Gibson, 61, sent the raider a message. "The bees were sad you left so quickly and empty-handed. They hope the swellings go down soon." Dale of Bermondsey Street, Bees in Southwark, South London, added, He'll be in a lot of pain.
Oh, well, you like it and lump it, can't you? So there we have to end, I'm afraid. So from us till June, I'll say goodbye. From me, Peter Lynskey.
And me, Hilary Lynskey.
And me, Mary Andrews.
And we'll have Pat hopefully with us next month to join us again. So goodbye.
Bye.
Welcome to the Liverpool Talking newspaper for the week ending Saturday the 4th of May 2019. This is edition number 1884. Our technician this evening is Liz, and our readers are Claire, Alice and myself, Sue. Sunrise is 5:33 and sunset is 20:41. And now over to our first reader, Alice.
Set to help in the rebirth of blaze-hit Notre Dame. Knowsley Estate is among more than 100 estates across the UK, helping towards the rebuilding of Paris Notre Dame Cathedral. The home of Knowsley Safari and Knowsley Hall is getting an oak tree which will be used in the restoration of the roof of the Gothic masterpiece. Simon Waller, Managing Director of Stanley Estates, which includes Knowsley Estate, said, "The fire at Notre Dame is a reminder of how important our great estates and historic buildings are. We're pleased to be able to donate towards this incredibly important cause from our 12,000 acres of woodland and farmland. We are in the fortunate position of being able to offer a mature tree with close proximity to younger ones, which will eventually take its place along the woodland canopy. The UK-wide oak donation initiative, which comes from sustainable forestry, already destined for use as commercial timber, is being organised by Historic Houses, the Association for Independently Owned Historic Homes and Gardens. The entire effort is estimated to have a combined market value of more than £100,000. France no longer has ancient oaks, tall or broad enough to rebuild the roof as it was. Around 1,300 mature oaks were originally used to construct the roof of the cathedral, which was built between 1163 and 1345, and this is the equivalent to 52 acres of woodland.
Paramedics treat rail passenger. A woman was rushed to hospital after concerns were raised for her welfare on a Merseyrail train. The 8:28 a.m. service from Southport to Hunts Cross was cancelled due to the incident, Merseyrail said. It is believed a woman in her late 20s was treated on the platform at Southport by paramedics before being taken to hospital by ambulance. A spokesperson for Merseyrail said, "Police were called to attend to an unwell passenger requiring assistance on the 8:28 train from Southport to Hunts Cross." A North West Ambulance Service spokesperson said, "We were called at 7:45 a.m. to the railway station, where we took a patient to hospital. They said the call was in relation to concern for the woman's welfare." A commuter who regularly travels from the station said, "I usually get the 8:43, but I get there around 8:30. As I was approaching, I could hear the tannoy, so I was panicking that the trains might be cancelled. At first it was saying the 8:28 was going to leave 10 minutes later than normal, due to an incident of disorder, and I could see a girl with a paramedic on the platform. Then as I went to pay for my ticket, I saw the paramedic and girl leaving out of the front entrance of the station."
Halls to shut down after 50 years. Liverpool's Carnatic student halls will close down after this summer, the university has confirmed. The university confirmed that the entire Carnatic student village in Mossley Hill, which was built in the 1960s, will close after June this year. A spokesman said that no students living in the halls would be affected. Head of Accommodation Lee Rawlinson said prospective Liverpool students preferred other types of accommodation to what was on offer at the halls. He said Carnatic has welcomed thousands of students to the universities over the years and will no doubt hold special memories for many. Although we know that on the whole students enjoy their experience at Carnatic Student Village, increasingly we find that prospective students have a preference for other types of university accommodation. An almost decade-long strategy to overhaul the university's accommodation is set to be completed this autumn, with the final phase of opening at the Greenbank Student Village taking the number of spaces on offer to 4,400. Other new additions to the university's accommodation include Vine Court and Crown Place, which opened in 2012 and 2014 respectively. As well as the university's overhaul of its accommodation offering, there has been a boom in student development across the city, with a spate of openings over the past few years.
Contactless card payments in all lanes of the Mersey tunnels have finally been introduced, with bosses announcing key changes that will make a big difference for motorists using them. The Queensway Birkenhead Tunnel's 21 lanes became active for contactless payments this week, while the 13 lanes of the Kingsway Wallasey Tunnel are expected to follow suit, or to have followed suit, on today, May the 2nd. It's hoped the move will mean faster journeys and reduced congestion for people using the two routes connecting Liverpool with Wallasey. The news follows months of speculation and promises, with drivers previously having had to use staffed lanes at both tunnels to pay by debit or credit card. It was initially announced the feature would be available across all lanes from early last year, but Mersey Travel said tests were hampered by technical problems. Announcing the news yesterday, Liverpool City Region Metro Mayor Steve Rotherham said, "I'm really happy that we've been able to make using the Mersey tunnels even easier by introducing contactless payments. It should also mean cars will spend less time on the toll plaza, reducing congestion and air pollution and making journeys faster. There's now no need to hunt around for change. You can now just tap your debit and credit card and go, or still take advantage of the fast tag with £1 journeys for Liverpool City Region residents."
Two held after soccer attacks. 2 teenagers have been arrested after a man was punched in the face while he watched an under-16s football game. A gang of youths threatened and abused spectators during the game at Russell Road, Southport. A man in his 50s was punched in the face and suffered a head injury which was described as non-life-threatening. The violent scenes during the game on April 2nd happened around 6 p.m, and 2 other men were also assaulted and suffered minor injuries. A 16-year-old boy and a 15-year-old boy, both from Southport, were arrested the next day on suspicion of violent disorder. They remain under investigation. Police have also released a photo of a man they wish to speak to him. Detective Inspector Gary Stratton said, "We think that the male pictured may have information in connection with this ongoing inquiry. So if you recognise him, please let us know. This was a disgusting incident which resulted in violence, threats and distress at a boys' football match. Although 2 people have been arrested, we are determined to identify all of those involved and deal with them accordingly."
This is from the Liverpool Echo, Wednesday the 1st of May, entitled "Doddy's Gift to Church He Loved." The clock of Sir Ken Dodd's lifelong parish church will soon be chiming for the first time in 30 years, largely thanks to the great man's legacy. Work is also continuing on a major renovation of the church hall opposite, which the late comedian attended when it was a school. Scaffolding is currently in place outside St John the Evangelist Church and the church hall, close to the house in Thomas Lane, which was home to the Squire of Knotty Ash all his life. Both are benefiting from Doddy's desire to bequeath a series of gifts to the people of his beloved Liverpool. He left a £27.7 million estate, and his widow, Lady Anne, is continuing to develop the Ken Dodd Charitable Foundation, set up by the comedian a few years before his death, and for which she is trustee, as is Ken's nephew, John Lewis. The church hall is the subject of a major restoration and extension, while the church's clock is being repaired and renovated. Lady Anne told the Echo, "It's lovely to see everything moving forward, and Ken would have been delighted. He loved the church, while the church hall is where he went to school. The church does have a bell which can be rung before services, but it would be lovely to hear the clock chiming again. Lady Anne had already started to fund the renovation and extension of the hall, but as previously stressed, while it is not a listed building, it is in a conservation area, and we need to work very closely with the appropriate authorities and get their approval every step of the way. Reverend Julia Jesson, vicar of the St John the Evangelist, said, "We are hoping we might have the clock chiming within the next few weeks. The faces have been done and the workings are nearly complete. Hopefully everything will be ready by the end of May. People have wanted to see the clock being restored for years, and they've been putting money into a fund. It's been out of action for 30 years. One of my last conversations with Ken was about the clock. He loved the church so much and would have been so happy to see this work being done. It is mostly thanks to Ken, and we are enormously grateful. We feel humbled." And Reverend Jesson said she and Lady Anne had been in light-hearted discussions about when exactly the clock should chime, explaining, "I am an early bird and wouldn't mind it chiming at 6 a.m, but Anne is a night owl, so discussions are ongoing. But it won't be chiming during antisocial hours." Regarding the church hall, she added, "We have been making good and we're waiting for full planning permission now. There will be 2 side extensions and restoration work inside. I said to the builders, I have this dream of having Christmas trees in there and a carol service for the community. I don't know if that's me being optimistic." Sir Ken married Lady Anne 2 days before his death in their Thomas Lane home, and she said, "It was his wish that the majority of his estate will go to charities close to his heart, many of them local. As his wife, beneficiary of his estate, and also knowing the contents of the will he made some years ago, I will be able to honour his wishes."
Debenhams puts 1,200 jobs at risk. Debenhams is to close as many as 22 stores, putting 1,200 jobs at risk across the department store chain. The group has announced a company voluntary arrangement which will see the affected shops, including Southport, continue trading until early next year. Further closures could still be announced following discussions with landlords. Meanwhile, rent reductions will be sought on many of the remaining branches. Executive Chairman of Debenhams, Terry Duddy, said, "The issues facing the UK High Street are very well known. Debenhams has a clear strategy and a bright future, but in order for the business to prosper, we need to restructure the group's store portfolio and its balance sheet, which are not appropriate for today's much-changed retail environment. Our priority is to save as many stores and as many jobs as we can while making the business fit for the future." The retailer announced that it would pursue a restructuring last year, but the path for the process has now been cleared after control of the company was passed to its lenders. Debenhams went into a pre-pack administration earlier this month, wiping out the stakes of all shareholders, including Sports Direct's Mike Ashley. Creditors, including landlords, will have the opportunity to vote on the CVA in a process overseen by advisors at KPMG.
Town is a digi hotbed. Attention is turning to broadcasting, how important Warrington is for the digital sector, after it was hailed as a hotbed of talent, which is driving economic growth. Saul Peake from Warrington-based digital agency Carp DM shared research data from the Centre for Towns with councillors at a Supporting the Local Economy Policy Committee meeting. He confirmed that, with 6,905 jobs, Warrington has the 3rd largest digital employment catchment in the whole North West, ahead of Liverpool and only behind Salford and Manchester. Additionally, in relation to digital jobs, Warrington ranks 10th highest in the country.